Today's recipe is salmon fish cake sandwich, together with a nice and easy tartar sauce. Now for this recipe I'm using 350 grams of boneless and skinless salmon. Now there are two ways you can play this. You can get this into the food processor and probably make your life easier. I would suggest doing it by hand, especially if you have a sharp knife and the skills knife. You know, doing it by hand you're gonna have a lot better control over the texture and over the consistency of how your fish cakes will look like. Now to this salmon I'm gonna go in with the following ingredients. 50 grams of breadcrumbs. This will help compacting all these ingredients together when we're forming the salmon fish cakes. 1 whole egg, about 1 tablespoon of finely chopped white onion, parsley, again about 1 tablespoon once it's finely chopped. Also I've got here a small clove of garlic, 1 teaspoon of whole grain mustard, lemon juice about a teaspoon, about 1 tablespoon of sweet chili sauce. The purpose of this is to balance the acid from the lemon and from the mustard. A 1/4 teaspoon of table salt and also a good pinch of freshly grounded black pepper. And I usually also add some fresh dill in here because it works well with the salmon, but I couldn't find any at the shop, so we'll just keep it this time. This is what home cooking is all about, just making it work with what you've got. Now, if you are totally impatient, you can go straight into frying. It's not something that I suggest. I would say get it into the fridge for about an hour. This way, this mixture will set and it will make it so much easier for when we need to form the fish cakes. So meanwhile, let's make the tartar sauce. I'm gonna show you my recipe. There are thousands out there. I'm definitely not following the classic one. Probably it's got some parts of it that are classic, but the rest, it's just things that I think work. So I've got here about 5 tablespoons of homemade mayonnaise. Now to this mayo, we're gonna be adding the following ingredients. I've got here white onion. I only need about 1 tablespoon. Parsley, again, about 1 tablespoon once it's finely chopped. Moving on to gherkins, I've got here 4 gherkins and I'm expecting to have about 4 tablespoons of finely chopped gherkins. Capers, I think we're gonna end up with about 1.5 tablespoon once they finely chopped too. Now all these go over the homemade mayo or maybe the shop bought if you're feeling lazy. To this I'm adding just a touch of lemon juice, not too much because we've got quite a bit of acid in there already. I've got here some whole grain mustard, about a 1/4 teaspoon goes in, and also about a 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grounded black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. This is totally optional, but if you've been on this channel for a while, you know that I absolutely love smoked paprika and I add it in most of my cooking. The last but not least, I'm going in with a few drops of tabasco. I don't feel that you need any more salt in there, especially with the capers and the gherkins being quite salty. Now, if you feel like the whole mixture is a bit too acid, you might need a bit of sugar. So after about an hour in the fridge, the salmon mixture is ready to get into fish cake shapes. I don't want to make them too big because I want to keep them in a shape that's manageable to get them into the sandwich, and also not too thick because these are not reducing much during cooking. Set a pan on medium heat and add in about 3 tablespoons of veg oil. Since we are cooking this in the pan all the way through, this will probably take you about 10 minutes, so about 5 minutes on each side, but obviously it all depends how thick your fish cakes are. So for the sandwich I've got here some ciabatta bread. You can use whichever bread you like. I'm adding in a thin layer of tartar sauce, tomatoes, salad, and the fish cakes. And we're finishing again with tartar sauce at the top.